ready हो तो we can start. Assalamu alaikum. My name is Sana Shah and I am the Creative and Outreach Manager at the National Incubation Center, Karachi. And आज हमारे साथ Kashif Ali हैं, who's the founder of crmbase.io. So normally what happens is that whenever we induct a new cohort, we do ask our startups that what's that one particular area where they want sessions to be conducted or one-on-one mentoring and coaching. And this one particular topic जिस पे आज हमारे speaker बात करेंगे is product management for startups, जिसमें काफी अभी request आई थी from our cohort 6 and cohort 5 to have session on product management for startups. So we have Kashif Ali today. Thank you so much for joining us today. And the stage is all yours.
Thank you so much, Sana, and thank you so much for NIC for inviting me on this task. So I'm going to start sharing my screen so I can present what I have prepared, and then we can go from there. Can you guys see my screen? Okay, just move it down a little bit, clear my. So, hello everyone, and I think this is an afternoon in Pakistan. So this talk is about product management for startups, and my name is Kashif Ali from Base. So who am I? I started from Pakistan as a journalist. I think it will be much easier if just I show you my LinkedIn profile, what I've been up to. I started working as a journalist in Pakistan. I worked for very famous news organizations, Waqt News, which unfortunately has closed down, Pakistan Radio, Pakistan Television. I set up the social media desk for them. And in 2016, I moved to San Francisco, and I did a fellowship program with the Wall Street Journal. And then I decided that I want to leave journalism and get into tech. So I learned to code in a coding boot camp. I did that for 3-4 months, General Assembly. And then I landed a position in Adobe. We call it Adobe in Pakistan. So let me keep this Q&A open if you have to say something. So I worked there as a Salesforce developer and business solution analyst in Adobe for almost 3 years. 5 months of that was an intern, and then I converted into a full-time employee. So last year in February, I left Adobe to start CRM Base. And soon after that, the COVID happened and the whole world shut down. So we're still grinding. We just launched our MVP last month. There was some prospective co-founder that unfortunately did not go, but we are still growing. We are building our team. We have currently 4 full-time employees, if you count me 5 of them. And there are 2 part-time people in US that are helping us build this. And just a one-liner, CRM Base is a boot camp to learn CRM. We have instructor-led classes and self-paced learning classes, and our website is crmbase.io. So you can visit us and see that what we are doing. So any question on this so far, or I can move on? I want it to be more interactive. If you guys have any question at any point, you can jump in or stop me anywhere.
So if there are any questions, we'll ask them to raise their hand, and then we can unmute their mic and they can.
Okay, perfect. All right, so you might have seen this product management graph. So what is a product management, or what is a product manager do? They work in an intersection of user experience, tech, and understanding the business requirement. So this is someone who's working in an established tech company like Adobe, Microsoft, or Amazon, they follow this path. They need to have certain expertise in all these three of these field, and then they can, work as a product manager. And this is like a very high level view. Obviously, there are much more to that. So, but the problem is when you change from product management from an established company to as a founder, the whole ball game changes. You have to do your own research. You have to build your own prototype. You have to build on marketing, sports, sales, legal, finance, development, and do all of that sort of stuff. By far, running a startup, I think dealing with the legal stuff has been my most nightmare scenario. So I'm not sure what is this for with you guys, but I think as a immigrant to United States and running a company here, it has been quite a struggle, but it's still very easy as compared to Pakistan. I'm not sure what is right over there. I remember I started to register a business back in 2010, and people were not very, not people, I would say that the process was not very helpful. I hope it has changed, and now we have better, understanding and better workflow to register a company. So yeah, these are all the things that you need to take care of. I mean, in a one single sentence, I would say anything related to your company, you have to manage that one. Moving on. So I looked at the questions that has been sent, and I try to generate the content around that side. I think the most software startups start from deciding an MVP, and deciding an MVP is a very integrate process, and it can be very detailed as you want it to be. From founder perspective, we have this big dreams of that project that it's going to be this big and people can use this way and this way. But I think it's very helpful to decide a minimum viable product and power through it. So the process I used is, some sort of no-code prototype. I have this notebook right in front of me where I scratch down the initial design of my product and what the user experience will look like. Then I created some low fidelity design in Adobe XD. I learned Adobe XD by myself a little bit, and then I designed that. And then I hired someone to make it high fidelity design. Then I started building that project. And at that point, I realized I need help for the engineers. So I started hiring engineers. And after that, it became a little bit of normal routine to go into that cadence, which I will share after a few slides, what is our cadence is like. And so the team, all team can be on board what we are building. So I think deciding an MVP, and specifically this advice is for software startups. Don't build anything that will take a year or two. I would say go as soon as fast to the market as soon you can, and decide a very basic version of your minimum viable product and build it in 4 weeks, 4 to 6 weeks maximum. And how do you decide that which stories are important or which features are important and which features are not important? Well, you meet every week and you take stock of where you are, what is your capacity is. If you are a solo founder, like I was a solo founder, in that case, you can also decide that. Or if you're not a solo founder, you have co-founders with you, you should meet. You should probably be meeting every day for the stand-up, but specifically on the MVP, dedicate 30 minutes, 15 minutes, 30 minutes, 1 hour, whatever you have to do, and decide that if we keep all of these stories in our backlog, it probably will not complete in 4 weeks or 6 weeks, whatever you decide. And take out, so at that point, you can take out those stories from MVP. And the single best piece of advice I got from most of the people in the Bay Area in San Francisco was launch as soon as possible. So you getting the user feedback, that feedback loop does not start unless you can show them something. Sure, you can show them in Figma and Adobe XD, but if they have something in their hand, they can actually touch and actually go through. I mean, if you give your design to someone in Adobe XD, they can click around and do something with it, but having it on the website or a mobile app or something, that will be really interesting for them to interact, and you can get the better understanding of what people are using that for. And and at that point, you can add the Google Analytics segmentation and do the data analytics stuff, so you can extract the information that you need for iterating the next piece of thing, next version of your software. So there are some tools that a lot of people use. There are Jira for progress optimization. So you can create create the epics. So is the product management setup, you can create the epic and decide the MVP, break it down into epics, and then break it down into user stories, and then track those user stories in those sprints.
So I believe sorry to cut you. We have, I think, 2 questions. So Daniel, agar inko one by one unmute karke inse le le hum questions, please.
Sure.
If that's okay.
Yeah, totally fine.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Peter.
Go ahead.
Kashif, I have a question for you. On your last point, on your previous slide, this slide, you said launch and get customer feedback. How do you collate customer feedback? Do you use an app, or is it just a pen and paper method, an email method, or you work with them?
So customer feedback, I have a slide coming up for that. The short answer will be whoever sign up for your app or on your website. I think those are the first customers, and you should be focusing more of them on that one, getting that feedback, like if the product is working for them or not.
So is it a matter of a phone call with them or a Skype call with them, or is there a piece of software that you can deploy to collate user feedback so that you can launch your next iteration of your software? What's the whole process there?
So what we use on CRM base is actually we have some built-in user feedback forms. So for example, if a user take our learning platform, go through our learning path, they can review, leave the feedback here on our module and lessons. So this is the short form of feedback that we get, and we get it the back end. We don't use a specific software for that. We built it on our own in our backend. And if I want to dig deeper, for example, there was someone who left a bad review here. I can reach out to them. And talk to them like, what is that we can improve upon? And I have a list of users. I send them an email, schedule a one-on-one call, and dig deeper about their understanding what they are looking for on CRM base and how can we improve, and try to understand the pain point. I think pain point is the key word here. What is the, sometimes you have to dig through, ask the follow-up question and really understand what is the actual pain point.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you for the question.
I'm good, thanks.
New version of to run prototype live on mobile phone as a source startup shall we start.
Okay, so what? Sorry, just all of you to type the questions in chat, and then we'll take them one by one. Okay.
So do you want me to go ahead and answer this question, or?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah. So Sajjad, I am not aware of that. But I think the previous version of Adobe XD, where I built my prototype, low fidelity design, it also supported some sort of prototyping that you can show user where to click and where to do that. I think feedback I would limit in the first phase to 3 to 5, maximum 10 users. There are people who have shown it to hundreds of people, but personally, I noticed that after showing that to 3 users, the you can recognize the pattern. What are the pain points, and then you can fix that, and maybe you can show them later or anything. So I think you can. If I need to answer your question shortly, I think you can show. Feedback is never bad. As soon as you can get the feedback, you can as soon as possible. So someone asked me to show the first 2 things of presentation. So this is the first slide. This is the second slide. This is the slide I just went through. And this is the slide I was on right now. So we manage a CRM base on G. There is also, I used it a little bit. A lot of people use Trello also, but Trello is the same company that uses Jira. Trello is fine, but I really like Jira. It has much more features, and I'm very comfortable with it. In Adobe, I used Jira a lot, and for someone it can be very overwhelming, but I think I with Jira. Asana didn't have a lot of the stuff that I was looking for, especially like burn down chart and reporting and all of that. Trello. And Asana, I didn't find it to be that intuitive for me. Maybe my mind was wired for Jira, so maybe I can be biased. For documentation purposes, you can use GitHub GIS or README files for the documentation. Jira also has a product called Confluence that is used for documentation purposes. We also have a SharePoint site where we do the change management, any news that is need to be propagated in the team. We propagate through SharePoint. I think the equivalent of SharePoint is Google Sites. I put the star there. I'm not sure if they are there or not. And on day-to-day communication base for communication, MS Teams or Slack, we use MS Teams heavily because we are on that side. These tools are a little bit more polished, and especially if you use Slack, you have to buy Zoom separately, and MS Teams is something that can provide both of those things. So we use MS Teams for that side. I think one thing on this slide I can show you our CRM-based Jira board, how we manage it. And so, for example, when I started as a single solo founder, I created that founder board that I used to track my records, user stories, and then I have more team members added. So we have this current 11 sprints going on. We have a backlog built in. We are already planning for sprint 12, and we optimize it. This might look like somewhat like Trello for you. There are in the to-do phase, we gather the requirement, and if there are production bug, we tag them as such. So, and when this is in progress, I know the developers are working on it. When it's in dev environment, that I mean. So we also have a dev and stage environment setup where we test out our stuff before deploying it to production. And so these 2 columns are corresponding to that. And before moving it to done, we have a definition of done. So what is the definition of done is like if it's working in production and it's working as expected, then we close that story. So this is the kind of a high level of the Jira board. We also have a content team that is working on separately. So because we have a content platform, 50% of our platform is technology and 50% of platform is content. So we do have a lot of content that we write, and we optimized it according to that. It will look familiar, ready for review whenever my content writer has done finishing her work. She tagged me here, move it for ready for review. I review it, or if there are some changes, I send it back to in progress and ready for review, or if it is finally done and I'm happy with it, I close it to done. So this is how we use Jira, and it is free if your team is less than 10 people. So we are using the free version of Jira. So there is backlog built in, there is board built in, and then there is a roadmap. So you can add the epics and break it down. And you can also, let me show you the engineering team epics that we have broken it down in the roadmap. So when we decided to build MVP, we set up the guidelines. These are not updated, but we are currently using it for 3-4 things. So hopefully this was helpful. This was kind of an overview. I decided to show it to everyone, so maybe it was helpful. So I'm gonna move on to the next thing. So what we do at CRM Base, we have this 2-week sprint. And as a product manager, I asked my team to demo the product. At any point, if they say that it is working in dev environment, I ask them to demo in dev environment, or I ask them to dev in stage. Usually it happens in dev environment, and we do a lot of testing. I mean, we test in dev environment first, and we test in stage environment, and then after deploying it to production, we test it there too. Then we, at the end of every sprint, we do some sprint retrospective, like how can we improve as a team, and what's the one thing that went well, and what is the one thing that did not went well, and we can improve that. So we have the actionable goals at the end of the sprint, and as a team, we ask everyone to pitch in. And then we also have some backlog groomings meetings. There are 2 or 3 artifacts of Agile is missing from here. I think one is missing. But we optimized it what works for us. So starting from a solo founder to building a team of 5 to 6 people, we're still building the processes, but this is what we are doing at CRM Base. So how to find users for feedback? I think you can find users on Twitter. People love to complain. And I love that people love to complain. You can find people on Reddit, on LinkedIn, not the random people that are very much interested into your industry. I think LinkedIn is very underrated. I did not mention Facebook groups or anything because I did not find it very, maybe it's just a cultural thing. I did not find it very valuable in terms of finding the right user, but Twitter has been a very good source of getting user feedback. Just sending it out there and see how people can respond to that. Professional and personal network, I put it at the end because if you show it to your friends and family and your colleague, they can be biased. They can be a little bit hesitant to share the actual feedback. So either show it to someone who can provide you honest feedback and don't think anything personally. There might be people who their point will be to just destroy, like, oh, whatever you're doing doesn't mean anything, and this is a stupid idea and everything. But definitely as a startup founder, you might be aware of that situation that happens. So find someone outside of your friend circle. I think that's the best thing I've noticed, that when you try to show it to users that are outside of your friends and family circle, I tend to get the best feedback from those users. Okay, how to talk to users. I think I partially answered that previously. Ideally, 3 to 10 users for a feature or a full website or an app, whatever it is. And after that, I think I noticed that it diminishes, the idea of it diminishes, the value start to diminish. You find the pattern, and then you, based on the data, you understand that if the feature is not working, maybe you can improve some user experience and do something about it. Or if it's not working, if maybe it's not presented the right way. And when talking to user, I think this is a book which is very famous. Read The Mom Test is the name of the book. So that is very famous book, and that teaches you how to understand the pain point. Sometimes you need to dig deeper in terms of follow-up questions to the user to really understand the pain point. Like, what is the issue has been, which is why this particular feature is not working. So the other day, I was talking to another founder who helps people from developing countries find a job in Google and leading other leading tech companies in the Valley. And so he has worked for more than 500 engineers. And one thing he said that everyone says that he works a lot in Russia and those countries which get away from Soviet Union, like Kazakhstan, Turkmenistan, Ukraine, and all of those Eastern Europe, those countries. So one thing that he said that after talking to 500 different engineers, one thing that stand out, like why they want to move out from Russia and all of those countries, because of the rule of law. And no one actually said that. No one actually said that point blank, that why I want to move out and find a better option in Europe, or find a better job in Europe or US because of this reason. But that was the pain point, the actual pain point. So, and that is something, you will understand. Sometimes user can be, can give you rounds and rounds, and you need to understand the pain point. And this is very important. And for that reason, at the Mom Test book, it's a very short read. I would highly recommend that if you can give it a read. It will help you how to talk to users. Another question that was sent to me was how to the team. I think, so moving from a solo founder to 2-person, 3-person, 5, 10, 50-person. I think item number 1 here, nailing down the elevator pitch, might sound strange to you here. But the thing is, when you are growing the team, you're actually selling your startup. So if you are trying to explain it to someone, if you're hiring, you need to be very, you should, put it in a way that they can understand. Putting it in one sentence, like if you apply for YC or other companies, they will ask you for an elevator pitch. They will give you 50 words. So for CRM base is a training, CRM training boot camp, and that's the 3 or 4 words. And if someone asks for an explanation, we provide instructor-led training, CRM training experience, and self-paced CRM training experience. And then this is like 20 seconds, this can be explained. And then there is a longer version of your pitch, which can be 2 minutes, and that can include your industry size and how where's the industry is coming from, where the users are coming from, and all of that stuff. So I think it takes some time. It definitely took me a lot of time to nailing down the idea in a one-liner or in an elevator pitch. So just be passionate, and if you have figured it out already, I mean, congratulations to you. It has been a long struggle, big struggle for me. So nailing down the elevator pitch, because you're selling it to your prospective team members, you're selling it to your prospective co-founders. There is a possibility that you're looking for a co-founder. I think bringing them on board and letting them know in a 1 or 2 sentence or 2 minutes, making them understand. I think that will be a good skill to have. Communication is very important. If you are growing the team, communicate everything, each and everything. You need to be very clear about the expectations. If you are hiring someone, what kind of expectations you have, and what is the key performance indicators, what the KPIs will be, and that will something that you will build over time. But the change management and the communication flow should be very clear and very straightforward with your co-founder, with your employees, with your users. I think that's why I stressed it and wrote communicate 3 times. And once you are growing your team, I think you can build the processes. You can, as a job of a founder is, a lot of founders can just, at some point you will just need to roll down your sleeves and hunker down on something and figure something out and make it work. But I think when you know the weeds of the things, then you can build a process around it so other people can replicate it and other people can understand it and take over from your side. So for example, when and I'm giving example from myself, that doesn't mean I'm very self-obsessed and I have my startup is wildly successful. I've learned it by doing. So that's why I am giving examples from CRM base. I started from a notepad, and then I built a low fidelity design in XD. Then I found someone to polish it. Then I started building the project, learned Python and Django, started building by myself. And then I hired engineers. Now, if my engineers are talking to me, I understand what the model mean in the, what is the MTV, means in Django, what is the model is doing, what is the template is doing, what is the view is doing, and how we are serving the logic on the front end. Then there was a next part was writing the content. I went through and wrote few articles. Then I hired someone, and and she actually made it much more complex, and much more complex might not be the right word. She made it way more, process more helpful and more productive for the future writers that we're gonna hire. So building the processes and figuring something out. So I think that will be very valuable in terms of growing the team. And I think when it comes to agile artifacts, having a stand-up call every day or every other is very helpful, and communicating your vision with the team. And as a manager, I think I will highly recommend having one-on-one with all of your for like half an hour, 15 minutes or 30 minutes. So one of my employee at the CRM is my old friend, old buddy. We know each other from like last 15, 17 years from our teenagers. So when I talk to him, I talk in Punjabi, and then there is someone else I talk to him in Urdu. Then there are new people that I talk to him in English. So my communication style and my language also goes from here and there. So the more you will help them out, and the more you get to know as a person, as a professional and personal growth, the more you will have a better connection. So I think taking care of the team and is also part of this thing. I'm going to move on from this. Books and resources. So these are the 3-4 books it really helped me. Actually, I'm reading this book right now, Hooked by Nir Eyal. So Nir Eyal was someone who helped Facebook build Facebook and other social media companies to make it more and more easy to use and more habitual. So if you are building a game, or if you are building any product that needs user to sign up every day or make it a habit out of it, I think I will highly recommend Hooked by Near Isle. And Lean Startup by Eric Ries. I know even I'm sitting in Silicon Valley, but I'm funding this startup by myself. So I'm following the Lean Startup guidelines and bootstrapping it so far. And as a solo founder, as an immigrant, it's a little bit hard for me to raise the money. But I think the biggest proof is in the market when people are signing up. And if you start making money, if you start the income stream, I think the investors will be behind you. So that's what I following the Lean Startup model by Eric Ries. The mom test I already mentioned. And the last one is growth mindset. So something I personally really benefited from growth mindset. And this author, Carol S. Dweck, she's a professor at Stanford for psychology, and she developed it. And the idea is of growth mindset is very simple. There are people who think that they are born with a specific ability, that they are naturally good at something. And there are people who think that anything can be learned and anything can be learned in an easy way or a hard way, and eventually you get there. So nobody's born as a product manager, nobody's born as an engineer. If it depends on how much effort you put in, and then you can learn to do that. And there are different ways to learn that. I am learning it trial and error maybe, and following the best practices from the different people are out in the world. So these are the books and resources I will suggest. If you want, you can go through that. I think one last, there are few words, that 3-4 advice that I think I will give to any startup founder is thinking long-term, but acting fast. There are huge companies out there. There is someone in the Silicon Valley who actually pitching it to an investor, and they told him, what if Google does that? Google will put you out of business. You should not build that. And he replied to that venture capitalist. He was like, Google also has a venture capital firm, so maybe you should shut down your venture capital firm, and I can do that. So if that's the rule. So don't get intimidated by big companies if they are working in your domain, or you are working in their domain. I think as a startup, you have a lot of speed process, and the decision-making process should be very fast. So the time and pace is on your side. So just act on that one. Act fast. And I think I should have put this one in the data-driven decisions on the top. Once you launch your MVP, then you should have segmentation on your website, and you have a lot of data that user will be generating. Then you can guide your product management from data-driven decisions, based on data. And so that's the third point. And I will go back to the second point is, I think it's a very cookie cutter advice, don't give up. But I think 2020 was a really tough year for all over the world. And if you go through from that kind of hard time, I think you come out strong from the other side. So 99 crash happened, the dot-com bubble burst in 99. A lot of internet company went bankrupt, but the companies who survived, Amazon, Microsoft, Adobe, Apple of the world, now they are dominating after 20 years in the market. In 2008 crash, companies who survived, like Facebook survived 2008. 2008 was not related to tech a lot lately. It was more financial sector, but it was a big recession in US, and it was felt all over the world. So this is similar kind of pattern that we are seeing in 2020. There is a very different economic, and I will be very, cautious here. I don't want to make any prediction what world will look like or anything, but it's definitely a very interesting time. But congratulations if you started in 2020. that was the toughest year for any startup, any company, any person. So when I say don't give up, I lived through it as a solo founder. So this is coming from the heart. This is not just a cookie cutter, don't give up. And so the fourth one is build something that people need and want. So I think I put wants there because there can be some cases that people might not know that they want it or not, and until unless you something cool or something, a game that you send in the market. So that's why want is there. But I think you should be focusing on if you are working in a B2B or B2C field other than the game, or anything new that you are making that is not presented. You should know your people, you should know your users, you should know their needs and what are the pain points. And I will add one more pain point here. One point here, when I mentioned friends and family in one of the previous slides, friends and families and colleague. So when I was, so this idea of the CRM base, I got it when I was working with Adobe, and I did not talk to anyone at that point, and it was in my mind, and I was not clear when I left Adobe. But that the product I'm building, if that product was there at some point, it would have very much helped me. Because as someone who's coming from journalism to tech, understanding a go-to platform CRMs and understand what CRM is and what does it entails. So that would have might have helped me big time. So now I'm reaching out to those ex-colleague from Adobe, and gathering feedback and data from them. And those are and I let them know that go crazy on this, like give me the hardest feedback you won't hurt my feeling. And I do get a very valuable feedback from there. And last thing, don't forget the documentation. If you want to grow your team, I think documentation will be really helpful, whatever you're building. Error handling and tests, QA tests. We are, after 6 months, we have realized, since we started growing the team, we needed some documentation to onboard new engineers and new writers. So we are working on the documentation side. So I think this is two things which are, someone actually told me, I think I was watching a YC video or something. Someone mentioned these two things, that documentation and tests does get overlooked. And that's the exact same case what happened with us. So I'm asking you, if whatever you're building, documentation and test, you should be spending some time on that one. It will decrease your effort downturn, and you should definitely consider that. And error handling is obviously, when you're building something as a programmer, you do that. But if you're not a technical founder, and you're someone non-technical, I've been into rooms with a lot of senior engineers, people who work on Photoshop and world technologies, and usually the first question they ask is about error handling. So this is something very interesting in Adobe. So these are my 5 different advices, and that's concluded. I know I still have 15 more minutes left, but I think I'm out of content. I would welcome any questions. So as you can go at on Twitter and LinkedIn, and send me an email if you want, and I will be happy to help. And I will hand it back to Sana.
Hi.
I have a question, if that's okay.
On mute, so there are some.
Yeah, sure. Yasser, do you want to ask? You can ask first, then I will ask.
Oh, thank you. Thanks. Hi, Kashif. Kashif, just a quick one from my point of view. You didn't mention anything about waterfall or agile in your building.
I think for the low fidelity
MVP
design, we should go
strategy.
for the bulk make. It is really good. I'm not aware of this, so I mean, if you think it's a very good, go ahead. I mean,
Kashif, can you hear Yasir?
Sana can provide the video. I can
Kashif, you're there. Can you hear us?
I can send the slides right over here. The link of these slides.
I'm not sure if Kashif is
Anyone
hearing
with the
us.
link can access this slide.
Am I able to ask my question, or can Kashif not hear me?
Yeah, I'm leaving a message to him if he's able to hear us.
I cannot hear anyone.
What happened?
Speaking?
Yes, I can hear you.
Sana, he can't hear us actually.
I can hear you guys now. Were you able to?
Yeah, actually we're asking questions, but I guess you're not able to hear us clearly. So
No,
Yasir, can you ask your question?
My AirPods died down. Sorry about that.
Hi, Kashif, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you. Yes.
Hi. Okay. Cool. My question was, in your presentation, you didn't touch on waterfall and agile. Maybe that's my thing. That one of the things I was trying to get out of this. What's your preferred way? And I know you spoke about Trello and Jira, but could you just touch on waterfall and agile methods and which one you prefer from a development point of view?
Yes. That was correct assumption. I did not touch on that one, but everything I discussed, from having the 2-week sprint, a product review session, a demo, and everything, that was all artifacts of agile. So we definitely followed the agile.
And what's your view on waterfall in that case, or you don't have a view on waterfall?
I have used. I've worked with the teams on the waterfall. I think my opinion is, for the startup purposes, because you are iterating and launching, and you can launch it better, and you can build in a sprint and two, and just ship it, get the customer feedback, iterate. So I would prefer agile for a startup, specifically a software startup.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for that.
Yeah, welcome.
Kashif, I have a particular question about crmbase.io. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear.
I'm more specific towards understanding the way you're creating the CRM trainings. How do you do that, and how do you for that? And creating from scratch, is it that you're using the existing?
Unfortunately, your voice is breaking now. I can hear you in bits and pieces, but let me rephrase your question if I understand it correctly. You said that how are we creating content for CRM base? Is that the question?
Yes, that's a question. And also, how many people are involved in creating the content? Because you said that there are 50% of the work is based on content. So what is the process overall that you go through before you release a training set or a video or an online course related to that?
So the good thing about creating the content for CRM is that most of the CRM platform, they already have their learning platforms. So why there is a need for CRM base then? That's the logical question. The problem is the learning experience on every CRM learning platform is different. So it's very good on Salesforce. It sucks on Microsoft Dynamics. Adobe is also in the line which is trying to ramp up their content. So the content is out there. So all we have to do is we go in, understand the content. And I work in that industry for 3 years. I think I have like 3 or 4 certification with Microsoft Dynamics, but I have hands-on experience with working 2 or 3 different CRMs. So then we can reevaluate the content and try to present it in a more presentable way and build it in a consumable 5 to 10 minute lessons. So that's our process currently right now. So right now our content team is very small. There are only 2 person. One is full-time and one is I would include myself in this part-time. We are really ramping up the tech side first, and there are some people that we are planning to hire here in the US, so we can have more. There are a lot of cultural things that are in place and in consideration. So yeah, but we are ramping up our product team, content team. And does that answer your question, like how we
Yeah,
find
that does. So do you have any instructional designer on board? As in that helps you out. I mean, I'm trying to understand if it really is important to have an instructional designer in training courses like these.
Yes, so there is someone working as a consultant capacity. They are not full-time, and so I did not include them in my team count, but we do get feedback from them.
Right. Okay. And that clears up. Anybody else?
Okay.
So anyone who is in the attendees can type their questions in the chat, and we are going to take that one by one. But the ones on the panel can unmute themselves and ask the question directly. And if the presentation, if you're done the presentation, Kashif, I'll just stop this and then question.
Here you go.
Yeah, thank you. G, any questions? Do we have any questions from our attendees? Okay, so Umar is asking, question is regarding building skills as a product manager, how important it is for a product manager to have deep technical and engineering skills, and to what degree?
I think that's a very important question. And this is something that I pondered about in the start a lot. I think you should be able to understand engineers' language. So you should be able to understand what they're talking about and the overall process. And I think it really helps a lot to have some technical jobs as a product manager. And in the industry in San Francisco Bay Area now, there is a specialized product manager. They call it TPMs, technical product managers. And so that as a startup founder or as a solo founder or as a team, whatever wherever you are, I think having the technical knowledge of the understanding is very helpful. To some degree, I think if you take some crash courses, for example, if you're a platform, they're building your platform, you're creating a Android app, for example, or an iOS app. I think there are courses available on Udemy, on YouTube, and if you're a visual learner, or if you want to do it, learn by doing it. So I think you can be up to speed with most of the things on 10 to 15 days. So there are some questions.
Okay, so Zishan is asking, you use low fidelity design term, what exactly it is, how does it serve its purpose? And specific, which process do you mean, internal or external?
So low fidelity design is when you just, make the, just the simple lines in Adobe XD or Figma or whatever the prototyping software you're using. and then the designer come in and they can add the images, they can add the and you can add the content, and so it actually looks like what the product are you going to build. So that is called high fidelity, and something low fidelity that you just scratch the, it's like drawing it on the paper and just moving it to, um, uh, in the software. So that's what is called low fidelity design.
Okay. Okay, Zishan is asking again, what method CRM is using for user churn rate controlling? What is your USP, how it differs from others in the market? And how do you decide pricing of your packages? What is your method?
So what method CRM is using for the user churn rate controlling? Are you talking about CRM base or a CRM?
So I think Daniel, इनको आप अगर unmute कर दें, ये directly अपने सवाल पूछ लें, because I think he has multiple questions.
Okay.
Hey Zishan.
Okay. Can you guys hear me now? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Awesome. Great. So, Kashif, first of all, thank you so much for this webinar, this workshop. It's great. मेरे जो दो तीन क्वेश्चन थे मैं उनको दोबारा वो करता हूँ. एक तो मुझे आप ये बताइए कि आपकी प्रोडक्ट की एक्चुअल यूएसपी क्या है, क्योंकि मार्केट में तो वैसे ही अच्छे खासे सीआरएम्स हैं. मैं अभी करंटली ब्रिट्रिक्स पर काम कर रहा हूँ और मैं अपनी कंपनी में ब्रिट्रिक्स को इम्प्लीमेंट भी कर रहा हूँ. तो वो क्या चीज़ है जो कि CRM बेस को ब्रिट्रिक्स से जुदा करेगी? One, this is my question number one. My second question is
let me answer your question one by one. First of all, CRM base is not a CRM. We are not actually creating a CRM. We are a training and learning platform. So we are like Udacity for all the CRMs. So we are creating, training content. We are not actually creating a new CRM. Does that answer your question? So we cannot be, we are not competing against Salesforce or Microsoft Dynamics or the CRM that you mentioned. We are generating the content.
Okay, cool. So my next question is, how do you decide about the pricing thing? Let's say that I've been myself as a product manager, so I've manages the product of bots and SaaS-based product. So during deciding the packages or the subscription model, it is like quite a task to decide that what price of should be the basic version, then the middle layer version, then the advanced or enterprise version. How do you help me, or like how do you suggest? I mean, what do you suggest that what is the best method or what is the best approach to address this?
Yeah. So I actually got this from Elysium, and I asked her to get the feedback from what are the things that you'll be looking for here. I think this was the point over there, and I did not include it in my in my presentation because I'm actually figuring that out by myself. So I don't tend to give advice when I did not have figured it out by myself. So I'm so sorry, but I might not be very helpful there. But I think having something very simple and understanding the financial background of your user, I think these are the 2-3 guiding factors for me. For I'm building this product for US, Canada, North America, users. So, and we are training them to get to better jobs and better positions into move upward in their life from blue collar jobs. So and there are I will understand what they can pay. There are even coding bootcamps out there that are doing ISA, income share agreements, so they don't charge anything upfront, and they are so confident about what they are teaching those people that they ask them for a certain percentage of their money first year of income. stuff like that. So I'm actually, just trying to figure it out, the pricing by myself. So, but I think simple and understanding your user, potential and understanding what the user is. So I think that will be helpful.
Okay, cool, cool. Fine, perfect, great. Thank you, Kashif, for this.
Welcome.
Do we have more questions?
Uh, I got one question, but it is not very much related with the thing here, with the topic. Kashif, your domain is crmbase.io. Why
Yep.
you have registered on .io? Is there any like technical reason behind it, or is just the gimmick, the marketing stunt? I just need
Well,
to have your view.
well, the crmbase.com was not available. That's the short answer.
Ah, okay. All
And
right.
I asked that person to sell it to me. He said $4,000. I was like, "Bhai rakh apne paas."
All right.
I'll pay $35. And what another thing, I've noticed a trend in the valley that IO domain is very popular. So so I was influenced by that. I don't have a lot of examples on top of my head, but I've seen a lot of startups are buying this domain.io, and it's a little bit expensive than .com. But that explains that it has something to do with the startup and something.
Okay. Okay. Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm
And
done.
sounds
Thank you.
cooler also, I believe.
Yeah, exactly. That comes in my mind first. That Kashif just want to
Yeah.
look cool. Okay. All right.
Say, okay. Unrelated, but how was your experience with the General Assembly boot camp?
General Assembly boot camp. It was very tough. Something from coming from journalism background to learning to code, and there is a little bit of a background of that too. I mean, I was not born in a very privileged family. I went to taught government schools and went to public universities. Never, I still cannot, um, have that. And back in 2009 10, I got the 24/7 access to the internet. And at that point, I was trying to clear my graduation in journalism, and I was so fed up by the call center jobs that I was doing, that I was so fed up that I try to learn basic HTML, CSS, and I built my first website with my friend. That's actually the most senior engineer in my team, and so I knew a little bit about HTML, CSS, and that set my trajectory in journalism also. So in every media industry I went to, news outlet I went to, they looked at like, oh, I can operate a website. They're like, oh, munde nu kam aanda. Let's put him on the web section. So so technology was always my second thing, from in the newsroom also. But when I landed in General Assembly, I actually have to drop out for the first time after two weeks, because just to give an example, in the first week they taught HTML, CSS, JavaScript, Bootstrap, jQuery, Ajax. That was first week. And the second week started with Express, Mongoose, building the schema, all the backend stuff. So it was a very dizzying experience. And after finishing all that in third week, they were like, congratulations, now you are full stack web developer. And we were like, we don't feel like one, but that's okay. And then after that, we started building a lot of projects. We built, 4 projects after that. So that really helped. So one thing that I am really, that sets us apart, CRM based to all other, platforms out there on CRMs other than Salesforce Trailhead that we plan to provide hands-on experience. So user can actually go into the CRM, it can do integration, break the things, and they can build hands-on experience. And that's the segue from that in first 4 years, and we built a lot of projects that help us, understand and things.
Anything else? Well, and we can always have a follow-up session with Kashif if he's available. And yeah.
And I just want to add one thing. Thank you so much for inviting me, and thank you so much for your questions. And yeah, everything. I think this was a good experience. I would be available for you guys.
Chale. Thank you so much, Kashif, for your time. And inshallah, we'll stay in touch and bother you again for another session.
Okay. That's okay. No worries. Thank you very much. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Take care. Allah Hafiz.
Thank you. Allah Hafiz.